Coronavirus cases around the world has passed 300,000. Italy is the worst affected country in terms of fatalities and recorded another big jump on Saturday, with nearly 800 deaths in just 24 hours. It's been under nationwide lockdown for nearly 2 weeks, but now all non-essential businesses have been told to close. Across the Mediterranean, Spain has also recorded its worst daily toll at nearly 400. Madrid is at the epicentre of its outbreak. Our correspondent Guy Hedgecoe is in the Spanish capital.
It's seen nearly half of all cases and it's seeing over half of all deaths. So in Madrid, the healthcare services are under tremendous pressure and they're trying to improvise as best they can. For example, turning hotels into makeshift hospitals, using medical students and so on. But there is a feeling that this coming week is going to be really crucial in the battle against the virus.
Iran is by far the worst affected nation in the Middle East, yet the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, insists it can cope. In an address to mark the Iranian New Year, he rejected an offer of help from the US, saying America had shortages of its own. And as our Middle East analyst Sebastian Usher explains, he didn't join those calling for the US to end sanctions.
You might have thought that he would have voiced a totally different concern, which is why aren't the Americans lifting some of those sanctions at the moment, with Iran facing such a crisis? Rather than these offers of humanitarian assistance, why doesn't it actually say to Iran, we understand the terrible position that you're in at the moment. We will temporarily suspend those sanctions. Now, there's been absolutely no offer from Washington on that so far.
India still has relatively few cases of the coronavirus, around 370 as of Sunday, and 6 deaths. But with a population of nearly 1.3 billion, often living in crowded towns and cities, there are fears those numbers could rise dramatically if the outbreak takes hold. That's why Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked everyone to observe a 14-hour curfew to slow the spread of the virus and test the nation's ability to cope.
अगर आपको लगता है कि आप ठीक हैं, आपको कुछ नहीं होगा.
If you believe that you're okay and nothing can happen to you, and you can continue roaming around in markets and streets as usual and remain unaffected by coronavirus, then this thinking is wrong. By doing this, you will not only be unjust to yourself, but also to your family.
Hundreds of churches across South Korea have held Sunday services, defying government advice. But around the world, many religious leaders are turning to digital technology to reach their followers. This churchgoer in Washington said it was a lifesaver.
I'm actually one of those people that are physically disabled and confined to my home. I wasn't expecting much, to tell you the truth, but I was just blown away as soon as I entered. And I knew in that moment that this was my new home. Everything in my life has changed.
After a fairly limited initial outbreak, Africa now has more than 1,000 cases. Jack Losh from Africa Confidential says that number is likely to be much higher.
One of the reasons is not just the capacity of labs to test people, but if you fall ill with flu-y symptoms in that part of the world, your first thing that you're going to think about is that you've got malaria. And this is actually one of the other big concerns in a continent that's battling malaria, but also cholera and widespread HIV infections. How then... layering coronavirus on top of that already quite fraught public health situation, how that's going to affect these places.
One of the stranger aspects of the crisis has been the shortage of toilet paper. But two friends in the UK are trying to show people how unnecessary the stockpiling is by setting up a website showing exactly how much. Loo roll we need.
We saw the stockpiling going on and we thought, I wonder how long toilet roll actually does last people. So we kind of ran the numbers. The average user probably has about 500% more toilet roll than they'd need to last a 2-week isolation. And we put a